Welcome to the Zen AF Hustle podcast, created for ambitious women who want to have it all without the burnout. I'm your host, Julia Garcia Devanishak. Welcome back to the Zen AF Hustle podcast, where ambition is sacred and hustle isn't a dirty word. Here, we're bringing the Zen back into your hustle, talking about everything mindset, boundaries, nervous system, identity, and what it really takes to build a life you love while you create your ambitious vision. Today, I'm joined by Christina Kuklinski, founder and CEO of Kook, an ocean-first beauty brand built for people who live in the sun, salt, and surf. She is so inspiring, and this convo was truly a breath of fresh air. I can't wait for you to hear it, so let's get into it. Christina, are you ready to bring the Zen into your hustle?
I am totally ready to bring this
Yeah.
Zen into my hustle. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So tell everybody who you are, what you're creating right now, and why it matters to you and why it matters to the world.
Yeah, no, I'm Christina Kuklinski. I'm the CEO and founder of Kook. We make ocean-proof hair and skincare products that are reef safe, but also high performing. I am a master scuba diver and I spent 2 years living on boats, diving all over the world. And while I did so, my hair broke off and I also saw the destruction of a lot of reef systems around the world. And I realized one, there were no products that were actually going to work for my hair and skin and hold up in this environment. And there also weren't enough products out there that were actually keeping this environment in mind. So a lot of the products that we use in our day-to-day life actually end up in our marine ecosystems and can have a direct impact on coral health, fish health, etc. And I really wanted to sort of fill this space for other ocean athletes to make sure that there were products available that would hold up while they went out and kicked ass in their, whatever competition or, beach day, but also kept this very important environment in mind and healthy for continued adventure.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's like such an for people that are trying to make easy shifts, like easy choices, like right, like just a little bit more conscious, like a little bit more, intentional.
Mhm.
That's that's amazing because like I know if I'm reaching for, like a sunscreen or something like that, I would rather use the one that obviously is going to be safer for the ocean. And I live in Miami, so we're
So you
very
get
close to the
it.
water all the time.
Yes. And I think that's the thing. It's like you obviously love to go to the beach. You love to go in the ocean. Like, why would you want to do something or use something that's going to harm this place that you love? So I think that's where I really rooted myself. And then I think what's been amazing is that I found a lot of like-minded people around the way that have sort of validated both from a use case, but also from that values and impact place that this is something that's really needed.
Absolutely. And I love that you're talking about values, and I definitely want to talk more about that. Can you tell me, like, what stage of your ambitious journey towards what you're creating would you say that you're currently on? Are you like on a spark phase, build phase, breakthrough phase, like the cost
Oh.
phase, recalibration phase, integration? Like, what would you say that you're at right now?
No, that's a great question. Well, I am 1 years old in 4 days. So I think we're both in a sort of grounding place because the first year, I think for me was really just about getting the product out there and learning and soaking up as much as I could. And now it's about sort of sifting through all that I've learned and applying it. So I hope I'm in a breakthrough phase. We're about to launch our second product, and I hope that that really pushes us into this next level. But I think I'm also being more mindful because of those learnings. And so making sort of choices that I feel like I have a bit more data around to make soundly. And so I feel excited about the year ahead. I feel like I am ready for this sort of next level of awareness. I think next level of strategy. And so yeah, so I feel like breakthrough coupled with sort of a grounding mindfulness of what this past year has meant for me.
I love that. So, what did your last stage kind of look like versus like what this next stage is going to look like? And what does it mean to kind of bring that Zen back into your hustle practically?
Yeah, good question. I think One, this last year meant a lot of chaos. I think there was a lot that I didn't know about product development and starting a company. And I felt very disorganized. And sometimes, like, I was just throwing stuff at the wall to see if it stuck. Given that I've completely bootstrapped the company, I think that meant that I had more limited resources to work with. That said, I really leaned into the networking aspect. What's been amazing is here in Los Angeles, there's actually like an incredible founder community. And so I think I've really exercise that by going to events, showing up for other founders, sort of probing and asking questions to whoever is like showing up in these spaces in an effort to sort of orient myself within this world and what that could mean for my future ahead. We ended sort of, or we're ending this year, I would say, on a bit of a high, but that didn't mean that there weren't a lot of like ups and downs along the way. I think what has been a key learning for me as it relates to being Zen and sort of mindful as, not working in corporate America, you're in charge of your own schedule. Like sometimes, you're the only person to hold yourself accountable. And I think in that, I really learned like the key way of working for me. So I've sort of optimized my schedule accordingly. Like I learned that I am very productive first thing in the morning. Like I love to get right to work, get all my fresh ideas in there. I then sort of need a break to, take my dog on a walk, sort of move my body, make sure that I'm sort of breathing and disconnected from technology. And then I check back in, and I think I have this sort of pulse on, pulse off throughout the day that allows me to sort of reset and re-bring in energy and focus each time I'm like deep diving back in. So I think I hope to sort of, now that I figured that out about myself, carry that forward into the year ahead. And I think, again, with this like amazing community that I have, keep leaning on others. I think realizing that even if you are a solar founder, that doesn't mean you have to do everything alone. I think especially amongst the female founders I've connected with, there's been such a knowledge share and openness around exchanging ideas, but also like connecting resources. And I think continuing to leverage that and again, sort of add my resources or extend my hand right back, I think is something I'd love to continue.
I love that. Yeah. And I love a good non-gatekeeper. Like, and I feel like the ones that are in it and we're trying so much to just help each other out and, because not enough of us are winning, that we
Mhm.
all want to see each other win, which is a
Really.
big breath of fresh air considering that innately sometimes like our brains are just a little bit different as women. Sometimes we are very competitive and it comes
Yeah,
from just a very biological place. I do want
totally.
to touch on one thing though that you said, and I don't want you to glaze over it because I think that anybody listening to this is like, oh wow, good for her. She knows how to optimize her day
Mhm.
because she's learned to like tune into herself and what works for her and what doesn't work for her. But you would be amazed as far as how many people don't know how to do that, especially as you mentioned, people that are coming from corporate America, where they very much told you when you can eat, when you wake up, when you work, when you sit down, when you can get up. And, and then that I've seen so much of the corporate baddies that I call them, transition into founder world
Yeah,
and in that founder identity, which I'm also hearing that a bit of a through line with the fact that you had to kind of really integrate a founder identity in this process, and how you did that as well. So, how did you kind of find your flow, allow yourself to find your flow, and allow yourself to really own what is optimal for you and tune into yourself enough to do that, and really give yourself permission to do that, and also integrate that founder identity?
totally. No, great question. I'm glad you double clicked on this because I do think this was sort of a key thing for me in learning how, again, to keep that accountability to myself and keep pushing forward when it was really only on me to do so. While I took sort of a 2 year hiatus from the corporate world, I did some consulting and strategy work for the Amani Institute, which is an amazing organization out of India. And the leader of that organization had us all create a user manual that taught us or sort of probed us with questions about how we like to receive feedback, how we like to communicate, what were some key things to know about our work style, et cetera. Sort of like everything that one would want to know about how best to have a working relationship with me. And I think, I carried that forward in a way to my own business now because I realized, like for the people that work for me, they might have like a very different style and very different needs in terms of how they show up their best for work. I think within the corporate model, like you said, you're so structured. Everything is sort of leading to this, hierarchy and like rules, and that can feel very boxed in. And I want people to want to work on Kook. I want to work on Kook. I don't want to feel like I'm like, oh, another day, here
Yeah.
I am. So I think really sort of operating from that place. Okay, like what is my user manual? Checking in with myself. And I think that was a learning curve. Like I think, I came to realize that first thing in the morning was when I like to really like zone in and get a good like 3 hours out of like my fresh mindset. And then I noticed, on the days where I sort of just kept powering through, I would feel headachy and I would feel a bit brain dead, or I felt like, oh my God, by 4 p.m., like God forbid somebody like has a meeting come up because I don't think I'll show up my best. Like I literally would say to people on my team, like, do not schedule meetings with me after 3 because I just won't be able to form like a thought in the way I'd want to or show up the way I'd want to. And so sort of realizing and fine tuning over time, but like listening to the signals in my body, like my headache. Oh, is my back achy because of how I'm hunched over on the computer? Am I feeling dehydrated because I'm not drinking enough water? Am I feeling like I haven't breathed fresh air? Like, I think it's just sort of paying attention to your habits, but also listening to those bodily signals for what really works. So it was a process, I think, to sort of nail down. And I think it's still a work in process. I think, I realized recently I hadn't traveled at all over the past year, obviously with starting a business and finances being slim. And again, since my company is born from a place of being active and outdoors and scuba diving, I realized I needed to create time for that. And so that's sort of one of my goals for this year is like, how can I get out in nature? How can I just take a weekend camping trip with my friends to sort of make sure that I'm disconnecting in a way that feels grounding and actually restorative. So again, it'll continue to be fine-tuned, but I do think those are important questions to ask yourself to help you show up better and ultimately have more success.
That's so wonderful that you say that. And it really does double down on a lot of things that I teach. And it's just amazing that you were able to do this kind of on your own. I developed a planner that kind of helps people go through
Oh, I
the
love that.
exact process that you are talking about. Because again, I talk to so many ambitious women that are like, I just cannot work out in the morning and like, and I'm like, well, then just work out at 2 p.m. when you get that, then when you need that like boost of energy, and
Yeah.
they're like, oh, and like they just like don't even realize that they can give themselves permission to,
Mhm.
because like you hear the gurus and stuff like that are like, wake up, do your morning routine first thing in the morning,
Oh my
like get it
God.
all, in and whatever, which is fine and can work for some people. But if you find, I literally have this in my planner because I just reread all of it. And it's like, if you find that you are the most creative in the morning, knock it out. Like, do what you
Yeah.
need to do,
Right.
create your top accomplishments in the morning and then see where you're at. You know what I mean? Like, and even me,
Yeah.
like, I have 3 kids. And so, first thing in the morning, sorry, I'm waking up to like, who knows what, like literally who knows what,
Totally.
So
Totally.
I don't
Which
get
is
to
the
tap
case
back
for a
in till
lot of
after.
women. Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. I was saying that is the case for a lot of women is that like mom duty is the first thing in the day and that takes priority. And then, it can shift, but maybe then you need your time or maybe now you have your creative brain. But I do think that it's a process. And that's why when we were talking before, I was like, people really need what you're offering because when you do realize the way of working for yourself, things start clicking. I feel like the universe starts working with you. You're like, okay, I'm like optimizing my full potential in a way that I never thought I could.
And this is so intuitive, right? It's so intuitive and it's so unique to each person. And I really I tried really hard to develop a framework and concepts and stuff that, many people, like wellness, like what does that really mean? So like I try to really like give definition so people can
Mm,
identify. And what you're describing is really just what I call like the variables and the metrics. It's like
mm,
what time of the day, how long. So then you can just tweak the different variables
yeah.
to see what works for your life and integrate it into your life because ultimately that kind of routine should be working for you and not against you. So if you're
Yeah.
just like doing something that's not working for you, you are likely waking up and being like, ugh, gotta work on Kook again. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not where, like, that's not why you set out onto this journey. This journey is so challenging of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
It's not why you set out to do that. You want to enjoy it, and it is possible to enjoy it.
Totally. And I do think because obviously you work with a lot of folks that are transitioning maybe from a corporate background or more structured background into one that is, a little bit more fluid as we're, developing our own businesses. But you have to essentially rewire your brain because you're so, again, built to be like, okay, I have to force fit myself to this schedule that they're laying out to me. Like I remember, and I don't know how I did this, but like, what made sense for me at the time when I was working, in my corporate roles is like I would have to work out first thing in the morning because I knew that by 6, 7, 8 p.m. when I might get off work, like there was no time for me. So I would wake up at like 5 and then I would power through the day and then I would literally get home and just lay on my couch because I had no energy left to give, but like that was all that I could muster for myself to get through the day. And then I loved what you said. It's like I realized that I'm not a morning workout person anymore. Like it's just not the time. I'm actually more of a late afternoon, evening person when I need that second break in my work day. And so I do again think that the tools you're offering and like sort of allowing people to like give themselves permission to be in charge of their own lives.
Yeah, and there's different seasons, right, for
Hmm.
everybody, right? And like right now, like I said, I have my youngest is about a year and some change, and it's like like the morning routine is non-existent, right? But
Yeah.
I'm thinking about becoming an early bird again, and I'm thinking about how to optimize my day now, and I'm thinking
Yeah.
like, okay, maybe I'll switch from because right now my workouts are in during the day, and which is right in the middle of my workday. And I'm like, maybe I can wake up at 5 a.m. and,
Yeah.
do my workout in the beginning, but we'll see. And like, what's great is to just give yourself a process, give yourself permission to try. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and there's like no kind of hard feelings about it. You just find what's optimal and best for you. But depending on what season that you're in at the moment, because when you're in corporate world and that's all the time that you had, and that's all good for you for even doing that, for even waking up at 5 a.m. to be like, I'm gonna like give myself this, for me. And even if it was at 5 a.m., even if it wasn't ideal for you, you still did it. And because that's the season that you were in.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, those things came with sacrifice. Like I think in some of my most intense work periods, I like needed to sort of not extend myself as much in some friendships just because I needed to take care of my health. But then sometimes I was like, I really like need to lean into my people. And so then, something has to give. And I do think it's, you can have it all, but like you said, I do think it comes in seasons and waves when certain things become priority versus other things need to be lesser so, but doesn't mean that they can't come back into a priority placement or like full swing later down the road. Like I think, like you said, like allowing for shifts and allowing for yourself to try new things and see what, works for you given whatever stage you're at in life or your week or your day, even.
I love that. I love that you said that too. And it's one of the major things and concepts that we talk about, especially for with ambitious women, is like, can we have it all, right? And I think what hinders a lot of people is that we just naturally have this kind of all or nothing, black and white
Mm,
mindset that we tend to fall into. And it is just a way for our brain to categorize things quickly, right? bad, good,
Hmm.
yes, no, you know? But truthfully, I believe that real life isn't like that, at least now in this modern world, you know, like where we can have kids and have a career and have a husband and have, you know, this and that, whatever, you know. So we have
Yeah,
different, you know, things that essentially is having it all for whatever that looks like for each of us. And but what does that actually mean? Like, how do you actually define it? And I think it's up to each individual person to actually define it. And like you said, just because, you know, one thing is a priority versus another does not mean that necessarily it's more valuable. It's just what needs your most of your energy and attention in that
hmm,
moment at this in this season, in this day,
yeah,
in like whatever it is, you know, and allowing yourself for those priorities to shift. It doesn't mean that they shift
yeah,
forever. It doesn't mean that they, you know, that, you know, just because right now my kids are outside, you know, it doesn't mean that you're, this podcast is more important than my kids forever, right? It's just
sure.
what needs most of my attention at this very moment. They're fine.
Yeah,
They're with their grandparents. They're with my nanny. Like they're fine. You know what I mean? But that
yeah.
doesn't mean that they're not the priority of my life. It just means that at this moment, they don't need my energy and attention as much as this podcast does because this is also valuable to me.
Totally. No, I think that was so well said. I think honestly, at the end of the day, like life's successes and happiness should be measured in the aggregate. Like, I think again, there's like weeks where things will be really tough, and maybe you feel like you're not prioritizing the things that you necessarily want to be. Other weeks, maybe you're kicking ass and you're like, oh my God, like I am having the best week ever. Like, I think, my mom like loves this phrase that like this too shall pass. And I think that that again is really relevant to what we're speaking about because it means like, again, like, any moment that's challenging, is temporary, as well as any moment that is really great can also be temporary. And sort of, again, it's going to ebb and flow in ways. But I think, again, like anchoring back on what you're coaching women about, it's like, well, again, how can we at least be edging towards more of the good and sort of like taking the learnings from that ebb and flow and like, again, pushing ourselves more to make sense of, what the current circumstances mean for how we should best lead our day or lead our lives.
Totally. And I think that that is the best way to kind of get through those ups and downs that inevitably will come on the journey of like creating something big and, you know, creating
Yeah.
the impact that you want to create is having that detachment, both for the good and for the bad, or however you
Yeah.
want to label them, right? And it's just, I feel like that is really the skill set that you can develop with that, right? And
Hmm.
what allows you to go through the motion of things, whether it's up or down or down, and kind of
Yeah.
keep steadily going forward. You know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I love that. Tell me, what's one major moment or challenge that you feel like changed you? Maybe it's like a Zen AF moment, and how did you move through it? Was there any time like something happened where you're like, something's got to give, or I can't sustain this, or I have to change the way I'm doing this, change my mindset and the way I'm doing this, or change some belief that I have about who I am or what I'm doing or whatnot. Like that's what I call like a Zen AF moment, something
Yeah.
internal.
No, a big time. I think I probably have small ones quite regularly, but there was one big point in my life which actually yielded or like was the catalyst for Kook. But I was working in San Francisco at the time, and I was working at Deloitte Digital doing a hybrid of like consulting and advertising. And my work life was very demanding. I, had clients in Chicago, so I was traveling regularly. I would wake up at 7 a.m. sort of to be on their timetable. But then, given that my workload was such, I would end up not, getting to bed until like 1 or 2 in the morning. And I started literally to turn the color gray. Like I just felt like I had nothing left. I was like, oh my God, you're so dull. Like I was not vibrant. I was just very sullen. Like, and I really felt like a lot of my actions weren't aligning to my values. Like very transparently, I think to sort of offset my work stress, I would, party with my friends a lot. Like I think I was just looking for outlets to like blow off steam, and that really wasn't aligned with, how like I felt awful. Like my body was just not operating in a way that it should. And so I realized that I really just needed to take a significant step back and reorient myself. Like, I think a lot of folks, of my generation and our parents' generation, we grow up with sort of this linear model laid out for us that because that really worked for our parents or, our parents' parents and sort of seeing like, okay, if I have success in school, I can then go to a great college and then I can, have a great job and then I can find the right person, marry kids, whatever. It's like very linear. And I think I just hadn't really thought that maybe that model didn't work for me. Like I didn't just need to like sort of push through on this known path, but sort of take a second to say like, what is it that I really want? Who do I want to be? What, like, how do I want to feel about myself? Like, I want to like the person I am. Like, I want to feel good in my own skin. And so I took 2 years. I ended up traveling and scuba diving. Scuba diving had always been a love of mine. I'd learned when I was 17 with my dad. And I think being in the water, being in nature, sort of like regrounding myself around things that were very tangible, really healed my soul. Not to sound cheesy about it, but I
It's not,
really
I'm actually so proud of you. Like, not a lot of people take that chance and take that moment to themselves to figure that out and do that, you know?
thank you.
I'm listening and I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of her.
Oh no, I appreciate that tenfold, and I think it really mattered to me, and I think too it allowed me to meet so many people that maybe I needed to see ways of living or how people were making different choices or meeting entrepreneurs or sort of seeing these different like life paths firsthand that like felt like it gave me permission to maybe explore one of my own. Again, since I was diving so much, that's like when my hair broke off and my skin was very weathered. So then I was like, oh, I need products. But I think even coming back from that, I wasn't still fully to break free. I ended up burning all my money in my travels. So I was like, okay, well, the security I know is from having a corporate job. So I ended up going back to that. But I think, that feeling or that, moment that I'd given myself stuck and sort of I started building Kook on the side. And then when I was like, wow, this is like what I want to do, I was able to fully make that plunge. But I think, back to your question, taking those Zen AF moments, taking that time to really check in, sort of saying like, wait, I'm going to sort of break this cycle, I think does lead to real change, whether it's right then or later on, like that sticks with you in a way that again can reshape your life path. And for me, it changed everything. Like I never thought I'd be here. We might have never had a conversation. I think it's really opened up my world. And so I'm really grateful I took that leap, even though it was very daunting at the time, because I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to like not be making money. Like, am I really going to dream my saying? Like those are like were very foreign concepts to me at the time. So yeah, that would be the big one that stands out.
100%. And yes, I feel like, yeah, everybody I don't know how old you are, but everybody in my generation for sure, like we were all fed that same linear dream, like this is what you're
Yeah.
supposed to do. I was always a little bit like, am I? Am I? Like I was like, I'm a curious person by nature, and I'm like, am I? Do I? Is that real? That doesn't sound fun. Like there was just like little
Yeah.
thoughts like that in my brain where I was
Yeah.
like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
You
You're
know?
like challenging the norm. You're like, okay, like I don't
But
know if this is right.
in a very like childlike curious way, because I still, I like for me college was great because it allowed me to, this is what happened for you. Were on that path. You hit a point, but then you took that very courageous leap to let me just go figure this out. You changed your environment. When you change your environment and you start looking at like what are other people doing and getting curious
Hmm.
about that, that could be such a great catalyst for change. It is actually
Hmm.
like this. I referenced this logical levels of change model. It's a pyramid. The very bottom is actually environment, but it can be such a catalyst for change if you just change your environment. And at the top, it's skill sets, beliefs, and values, and then purpose, right? But when you change your environment, you start noticing other people and what they're doing and what they're achieving and how they're living. And then that naturally just starts changing your beliefs of like what's possible.
Yeah,
If it's possible, maybe it's possible for me. And then, if it's possible for me, then maybe I can, what, and then you find your purpose and then you're like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And then that is like how change happens, really.
yeah,
It's like you just start little by little changing those beliefs and changing the skills and changing, and then ultimately tying it into your purpose, which allows you to create big, big shifts in your life, right? And
totally.
a lot of people figure that out much later on in life, depending on, I don't know what their generation is and stuff like that. But maybe like what is the generation? I'm a millennial. So
I'm
after me was Gen X or whatever.
hmm
Yeah, Gen X. Those guys, I don't think that they went on to that linear path for sure. I don't think that they ever.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think the
that was the
millennials started really questioning things.
Yeah, and again, that was a sign of the times. Like, technology wasn't what it was. There wasn't this more global communication system where we could see and access things in the same
100%.
state or way. I do want to touch back on something that you said with your pyramid. I'm so glad that you put like environment at the bottom and then purpose at the top because
Oh,
if
I
I
didn't do it. It's not my pyramid, but
oh
yes, it's
well, the one you referenced, this
yes.
pyramid, um, I went out of sort of my consulting Deloitte phase into this travel with like, what's my purpose? Like that was my big question. And that was like, wow, I have to find my purpose. I have to find my purpose. But I was so focused on that, at least at the start, that I was like, oh my God, like what am I doing? When I think like, again, by taking that like 2 years, I was then again in these different environments and I was like, okay, like it doesn't have to be just like a hunt for the purpose, but really just this like forward movement. And that sort of again, like lit the sparks or the things to sort of like you said, then I'm seeing people do things like, oh, maybe that could work for me. Oh, maybe I could try that. Okay. Like, and all of a sudden now I've found a purpose in life that's bringing me a lot of joy. But like, did I ever think that that's what I was going to just suddenly come up with the answer for? Like, no, but I sure wanted to.
Yeah.
So I think it's again important to recognize that like again there can be those small tweaks, but then there can be things that again like just sort of start that chain or series dominoes falling to get you where you want to go. And it's just about taking that first step.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard any other way as far as like how that happens. I've only heard
Mm.
the little steps, little nudges,
Mm.
little tiny, maybe this, maybe that. I've only heard it that way. I've never heard if anybody maybe, I mean, like maybe like the child prodigies that are just like put into golf like first thing, like as
Yeah.
soon as they're three or so. I don't know, maybe that. But in terms of like, yeah, like asking the question, like, what is my purpose? You're definitely not going to find it in the same energy as like the way that you're asking the question. You're going to find it when you actually let go of the question and you
Mm.
just follow like the little nudges and you have to trust that those are enough for now, you know?
Yeah.
And that's really hard for
Yeah.
people. They just like want to wrestle it to the ground and they want a very logical correlation like, oh, if I do this, I'm going to get my purpose. And that's not really how it goes. It
Yeah.
really is a little bit more of a journey and a discovery and soft whispers and subtle nudges. And, you have to kind of
Mhm.
trust yourself and listen to that intuition, like step by step, step by step. And that's the way I've seen it happen. I
Yeah.
cannot say I've seen it otherwise. Again, other than like, the child prodigies that just start off as soon as they're born and they're like piano stars and, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's so fair. I guess sometimes, people blow up their lives and just decide something at random. But I also think, people maybe, if they're partnered, they choose to follow something their partner's doing, and then that purpose sort of develops along the way. So I think whatever, going back, whatever way it works for you. But I do think a known formula that like leads to change almost 100% guaranteed is like you said, listening to those like little steps or little decisions you can make. And again, even a year ago or even 2 years ago before Kook was even really a thing, I like never thought that it would, come to this. And sort of, again, we're launching in Free People. Like, I'm like, holy shit, like they want
Congrats.
me, like they want to carry something I made, like things like that just like weren't even in my brain. But now I'm like, okay, like even bigger things are possible, even more. Like if I want more for myself, like I can go out and get it. Like I can create that for myself. Like I can, put my mind to it and sort of, again, not be afraid to go after it. Because again, to me now, I'm like, nothing could be worse than going back to corporate America. Like, I'm like, that would suck for my
So
mental
true.
health.
My husband always jokes with me. He's like, "You are so unemployable." Right?
Yeah. And
I'm
broke.
like,
It happens.
"Yeah." But it's not because like I wouldn't do a good job. It's just because
No.
like I'm like I just cannot bear anybody telling me kind of like when I can go to the bathroom and not. You know what I mean? It's more like that versus like,
Yeah,
if I obviously if I worked for somebody, I would do my best to,
of
take care of
course.
whatever work they entrusted me with. But I'm like, it's more just so like can't have Linda from HR like down my neck. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
more like that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people get fulfillment around meeting goals for a company, and I commend them. And I think that's amazing. I think for me, that fulfillment comes from achieving my own personal goals and ones that I am helping to shape. And I think, again, like, for other people, a secure corporate job can just be a job and can be something that allows them to lead the life that they want. And I think that's very respectable too. I think for me, obviously, I want Kook to be successful, but I also just want to know that I tried. Like, I think I felt like I had this idea, and if I don't fully see it through, then I will feel like I really didn't do right by myself, and I didn't sort of give myself the chance, and I wanted to bet on myself and wanted to see if I could make a thing and have it at least be bought by one person who wasn't my mom, you know?
I'm literally at that phase at this very moment. And I love
Yeah.
that you said that so much. It made me like, because my next question was actually, how do you define success for yourself now? And I
Mm,
feel like you were answering that question. But if you want to
no.
add to any of it,
Yeah, I think something that I've learned over this past year is like small wins matter. I think again recognizing like I I feel like I had a conversation with like a really cool top tier athlete, and even just having that conversation, even if I, don't know where it goes, was like major for me, because I was like, wow, like if I had never gone after my dream, I would have never had the chance to like meet this person. I think, I am, again, very honestly, in a lot of debt. Making a product, a physical product, is hard. There's a lot of like upstart costs that just go into meeting minimum order quantities and developing a thing before you even know it will sell. So obviously there's like some side of me that wants that sort of financial freedom, or to feel like I recouped what I put into this business, and at least like net zero. But I think more of the success that I'm finding now is in the community that I have formed, the people that I've gotten to meet, the way that I've felt like people have shown up for me, the way I got to show up for others. I think, being able to sort of see that my products matter to people, having people leave me feedback that like, oh, this like really changed my routine. I'm like a daily swimmer and I have to chop my hair off once a quarter, and now I don't have to. Like, huge. Oh, I, used to just load up conditioner, and like I knew that was hurting the reef, but I didn't want to, not have good hair. Now I don't have to. Like, they're like real things that I'm changing in people's like day-to-day routines, and like that's success to me. Like that feels like I'm leaving a little bit of a mark in a way that matters. I think, another big component of Kook is we partner with Sea Trees, which is a nonprofit organization that focuses on different marine ecosystems around the world. We support a project in Baja and planting mangroves. So for every product sold, we plant a mangrove in this UNESCO World Heritage Site, and we've planted over 3,000 1,000 trees. So I like to think there's like a forest down there dedicated to our work. And I think that's success. Like I think being able to say that there's a way to, you know, like improve upon this environment that's so important to me and make steps to restore it. So money aside, I think it's those sort of tangibles and relational things that help me define success for myself.
I love it. I mean, you're doing amazing things. And yeah, like those are just such heart-led kind of missions that you are on.
Yeah.
And it is why, and every time I speak to an ambitious woman and a founder and somebody that is creating something and impact, there, it's always heart-led. It's always like impactful. And I truly believe that that is more needed in terms of like just
Mm,
to restore some kind of balance in this world. And it's why I am so passionate about helping more women like you know, and sharing a message, messages like yours because, it's so important the way that you are
mhm.
building this business and the impact that you are trying to create. And what I find is that a lot of women have that same kind of, I think it's just, kind of part of our essence and like who we
Yeah.
are. And that's why I'm so passionate about amplifying and helping and bridging the gap between, modern women and the kind of the society that we live in now and
Yeah.
helping them and giving them the tools to kind of keep going and create so that they can create that impact that they want to create. And just being if I could be a little bit of a ripple in any part of like the ripple in any way,
Mhm.
I would, that would be everything to me too. So if
Yeah.
just by sharing even your message and what you're doing and what you're creating in the world, if I could be even just the smallest ripple to help you continue to do that, like it's worth everything that the time that we're spending right now. So thank you for spending this time with me and sharing your story and just amplifying, your mindset, and
Mm.
how you're doing things and more in is as important as what you're doing. So I really appreciate you for being here. Um,
No, thank you. I appreciate you. I think again, you've opened up such an amazing platform and I even like having this conversation with you like gives me energy. Like I feel like restored even through this opportunity to share and hear your perspective because I do think that like helps feel not as alone. Like it helps remind me that like okay, like there are people who get it and that like eases the process tenfold. So thank you for having
oh,
this
thank
space
you.
for us women.
I appreciate it. So I have a lightning round for
Oh
you.
yeah, please.
Yeah. So, what is your non-negotiable right now? It could be like a ritual, an affirmation, whatever, something that is like a ritual, something that is a non-negotiable for you, like every day
Oh,
that
I
helps
take my
you.
dog to the beach almost every day. I think one, it allows me to touch the water with my feet and her to feel free and like a dog's meant to. And so that brings me so much like internal peace that like if I don't do it in a day, I feel off kilter.
I love that. A thought you hold that got you to where you are and might inspire others.
So we have this phrase in my family that is be kind, work hard, go far. And I think it incorporates two things that are really important to me, which is leading with kindness. But it really does take hard work as well to, go far in life and have success. And the combination, you can't do one without the other. And so, yeah, I think that's something I live by and something I've transcended into, how I run my business, how I work with people, how I want to, be perceived and ultimately feel like I'm operating from a place of strength as opposed to a place of weakness.
Oh my God, I love that. When did you guys start this saying?
My mom came up with it, and I want to say like literally since I was in elementary school, it
Oh my
was
God, I love that
embedded in
so
our
much.
brains. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna take something like that from my
Yeah,
girls.
please, no, pay it forward.
What's one thing you're celebrating right now?
1 year of Kook and the fact
Yay.
that we're launching our second product, our solar moisturizer, and then the fact that we're going to be in Free People. That's like the first major retailer we will be joining, and I just feel really grateful that we got here, and I have the chance to again take that next step forward.
Oh my God, celebrating you so much. Complete this sentence. I am in my Zen AF era because.
Because I finally felt really accepting of who I am. Like I think I can finally really feel like I like myself. I feel confident in my own skin and that I feel like I'm aligning those actions with my values. Like I think that again allows I know you said like heart for it a bunch, but like it's true. Like I don't think I was leading my life that way, and now I really do, and feel very grateful to get here. I mean, of course it'll continue being a journey, but like this feels like a really nice spot to settle into my body around.
Yeah, definitely. You really did take some, you made some hard decisions and you took some risks and, so like that's not an easy thing to do,
Hmm.
to find this alignment with yourself. It really took probably a lot of challenging moments for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So tell everybody where they can find you, support you, and follow along.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Gotkook.com is our website. We're also sold on Amazon and TikTok shop. Our Instagram, TikTok handles are got.kook, so got.kook. Look for us in Free People on April
Love it.
5th. If you're in Los Angeles, we have a lot of community events coming up. So check out our socials, or, check out some of our partners that we'll be combining with on the beach and across the city. But yeah, more to come.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Thanks for listening, Ambitious Babe. And if you are ready to bring the Zen back into your hustle, be sure to visit getzenaf.co to find out more.